Hey, this is Neon Filter. I was messing around in Native Instruments Massive the other day, and I came up with kind of like a dubstep style bass that I was having a lot of fun with, and is actually what I used for that intro video kind of to this video. And so I wanted to share that with you because I had a lot of fun with it, so maybe you will too. Anyways, so let's get into it. Here is, I'm dragging an instance of Massive into here. And so this is totally blank, and so there's a couple things I like to do when I get started. Is I go to this envelope number 4, and this controls the amplitude of this patch, and I change the sustain level to go to 100%, which is nice for bass sounds. So you kind of like when you hold down the note, it stays at a constant level. And then this oscillator tab, I'm going to change the pitch bend to go up 12 semitones and down 12 semitones. If I can do this, kind of ain't sticky. There we go. So that's a full octave, and that's really nice. I really like the whole kind of like how pitch slides, and so I'm gonna have this glide time up a little bit too. So when I go from one note to another, then I can glide between the two and get some really nice pitch slides. And then under this voicing tab, because it is a bass sound, I really only want one note to be played at a time. I not gonna have any chords. So I'm gonna change this to mono rotate, and then this trigger, go to Legato Triller. So basically legato is like if I'm holding down one note and I go to another, then none of the envelopes are going to be reset. They're gonna kind of continue on, including these Lfos, which is nice for some of those kind of more wobbly sounds. That kind of just continues on as I have two overlapping notes. And then triller is if I'm holding down one note, go to a second, let go of that second, it'll glide back down to the first one, which is nice. I like that feature of this. Whereas legato, regular legato, is you go from 1 to 2, and then if you let go of 2, then it'll end the sound. And then moving into the oscillators here, oscillator 1 I'm going to keep as a square saw wave, number 1, and I'm going to turn this wavetable position just up a little bit, and I'm going to pitch down a couple octaves. And on a Mac, if you hold down Option and go down, it'll go octave increments and go down a couple to get into more of a bass range, and I'll keep these two the same. Then oscillator 2, turn my amplitude up, and I'm going to go to a sine triangle wave and move this over more to the triangle position, and then move down an octave and then detune it a little bit this way to kind of thicken things up a little bit. Oscillator 3 is going to be rough math number 2, and then I'm going to go down again an octave and then detune a little bit the other way, so this kind of gets a nice thickness between those two. And then I'm going to leave this wavetable position. I'm going to change this to a format. And so format really has to do with frequencies that are in the human vocal range. And so I find with this you can get some really nice kind of squealy sounds if you listen to this. That is cool, and you kind of hear that sort of sound in a lot of modern dubstep kind of tracks. And so that is desirable, at least for this sound, if you're into it, and I am. So filters, go into here. I'm gonna leave my filters as parallel, and okay, I did a crummy job explaining that in the video, so I made this lovely diagram with a mint backdrop to explain my point better. As you can see, parallel filters, what happens is the audio signal is split and then processed separately by the two individual filters before being mixed back together before the amplifier, and then in series the audio passes through filter 1 and then through filter 2 and then goes to the amplifier. And there you go. The way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to have this one as a low pass, and then this one as a scream filter. And then I'm going to move this all the way up to the mix between the two, all the way up to mix 1, and then later on I'm going to add in a macro, and I'm going to be able to select between these two filters, and which will be able to kind of, when I'm like programming and editing, it'll be able to change the sound really easily with just one patch. And then for this filter 1, I'm going to add this LFO number 5 to the cutoff, and I'm going to turn it up 100%, and that'll be good for right now. I'm going to do some more adjusting in a little bit. And then LFO number 6 to the filter 2 and turn that up all the way. And so that is good for the time being. And then, so we'll go into these LFOs, and something I like to do with the rate of the LFO is I like to take the velocity and put that to the rate and put that up 100%. And so this is really nice. It makes it difficult to play on an actual keyboard because it's really difficult to play precise velocities. But when you're programming it kind of MIDI in Ableton or whatever DAW you're working with, you can adjust the velocity and right in that MIDI clip adjust the rate of the LFO, which is, I found, a really quick way of changing the LFO rate. And next I'm going to change this to that, kind of get that cool kind of choppy sound from that filter. And so filter 2, this LFO 6, is modulating the cutoff. I'm going to again make my rate adjusted by the velocity, and for this LFO curve I'm gonna go to the sinus uni and have that kind of, I'm gonna leave that right there. And so this is kind of just a different sound, like opposed to a regular sine wave. It always stays up a little bit, and so you don't get quite the same drastic result as you would with a full sine LFO, and but I kind of like the more subtleness of the sinus uni. So there's that, so that's good. And then I'm gonna add in a little bit of noise. What kind of noise? I was messing around with metallic noise. Yeah, that was really cool. I like that. And so I believe I had my color kind of around there. Let's see. So as you can hear, if I'm just playing on my keyboard and the automatic velocity from messing around on my keyboard is high, so you can hear that the filters are just going crazy when I'm just pressing this with my keyboard, which is actually not very nice. So, but you'll see as you get into programming that having the velocity on the LFO is really nice, but you can't really hear how it's working very well right now. So I'm going to turn that off so I can, just for the time being. And so you can kind of hear what this is sounding like. Cool. That is good. And then get into a little bit of effects here. Go into the reverb. Just a little bit of reverb I find really kind of makes things nice and gives it a little bit more width and depth to the sound. Just a little bit. I don't want to be too obviously reverbed out there. And then dimension expander here. Again, just kind of going for some subtlety there. And then in the EQ, I'm going to take the high shelf and I'm going to add an LFO to this. So add the LFO to here. And so as you'll hear later with this EQ and the LFO number 5 on the high shelf, when you get the LFO sweeps, then the EQ will accent that and help with the high kind of squealiness, which sounds really cool. And so we're gonna stop there for this video. And so yeah, this is not sounding like a lot right now, but in next video we're gonna mess around more with some macros and add a bunch of macros, and that'll really help in your ability to kind of program sounds in and get a wide variety of sounds from a single instance of Massive. And you know, in dubstep tracks it sounds like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, like a bunch of different synths kind of talking at each other, and you can kind of achieve that similar effect with only one instance of a synth like Massive by using these macro controls to kind of really drastically adjust how the synth is working just from within one patch. So we'll get into that next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a second.